Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tasha and I'm the wife, mother, dyer, designer, and knitter behind all things Desert Borealis. If you are here for the first time or a returning subscriber, thank you for being here. Here are my 3 reasons for breaking up with my local yarn store, or in my case, local yarn stores. I live in between 2 yarn stores. They are both about 30-35 minutes away from me. The drive is somewhat prohibitive, but that's not what makes me want to break up with them. The local yarn stores in my area don't fill a need for me. Now, I know that there are knitters and crocheters out there where the local yarn store is like their people. You go there and those people get you, you have friends there. That's not the case with my local yarn stores. The one local yarn store that I have, the employees are very unfriendly when it comes to helping you when you want to knit something outside of the trending box. Both of the local yarn stores in my area just don't cover a wide variety of yarns available. One of them used to carry a lot more variety of yarns. They have since downsized their selection to only a select few trending dyers. And those dyers just don't produce yarn that is appealing to me. My second reason for breaking up with my local yarn stores is I get very overwhelmed in person when shopping at a local yarn store, and I know a lot of people this may seem very personable and friendly and welcoming, and to me, it's just plain overwhelming. I know that I'm a highly sensitive person when it comes to noise. You add in the 30 to 35 minute drive that I have to make with everybody crazily driving, and then getting to the store and there's music playing, there's people chattering in the background, and then the well-meaning, friendly store owner comes up and wants to chat with you about yarn choices and what you're making and what she thinks would be the best option, and just all of these things makes it very overwhelming that I personally shut down. I can't make a decision with all of that happening. Now, I've tried several things in the past, such as making a list beforehand and kind of pre-shopping on the store's website beforehand, but when I get to the store, the difference between in-person yarn color and on-screen yarn color is drastic. So what I end up doing is just buying all the options and coming home to try to make the decision here. But that leaves me with a lot of yarn in the end that I really don't know what to do with. My third reason for breaking up with my local yarn store is just the simple fact that because of said overwhelm and buying more and different than what I need, I have a yarn stash. I've gone through my entire stash and I've weighed every single thing. From the bits that I've cut off after I've woven in my ends, projects that I'm working on, to the scraps that I have, all the way down to my full skein cakes. And I've recorded the entire thing so that I can take you on a stash tour. During the stash tour, I have laid out everything by yarn weights, from lace all the way up to worsted. I didn't include any chunky because I don't have any chunky yarn in my stash, but I want to show you all of it. It is by no means a small stash, and in some ways, I am ashamed of it. I am determined to turn this shame into something that I can be proud of. Projects and designs that really ignite the creative fire within me that I once had, that maybe has dwindled now, but I hope to regain through using my stash. As we start this yarn tour, I will be showing each item that I'm weighing, and on screen will show you how much that particular item weighs. Stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll be sharing with you exactly how much yarn is in my stash. To start this stash tour, I will be showcasing all my bits, bobs, and whips. Now this bag is full of all the pieces I have cut off from my projects once my ends are woven in. Next are my scrap cake balls, and I've divided these into cool and warm colors. I plan on crocheting 2 granny stripe blankets with them. This is a Halloween themed advent that I created for myself last year, and I have absolutely no idea what the colors are waiting for me in here. I might decide just to open these randomly, or I might save them until October 2026. I am just weighing all the yarn that is in my project bags. Once I have finished a project, then I will reweigh it for a final accurate measurement. If you've been to my channel before, then you know all about my neon fade sweater. Next up are my January hedgehog fiber socks, which I was supposed to finish in January, but obviously being July, I'm still not done with them. But you can find out more about those on my weekly podcasts. Here we have my triangulum blanket and all the scrap spheres that have yet to be added. This project is really my first rebellion project. I love the idea of a scrap blanket, but wanted something different than what everyone else usually does for a scrappy blanket. These tan line joggers are in the colorway Cherry Bomb, which I dyed myself, and I love that my daughter and I have these to work on together, and we each chose colors that we love. I chose this bright, intense red because I want these to be a pair of pajama pants that I can wear during Christmas time. My scrappy northeasterly blanket is pretty much the second rebellion project. I know that a lot of people like to do the jelly roll blanket, but I wanted to kind of do that, but have a little something extra added to it. Solid fade socks are a design that I was working on that flopped in my face, but I decided to turn them into a helical pair, and I actually love these socks and can't wait to finish them. This is a second design that I am working on, and I call these my Oma socks. Here we have mermaid tier socks, and they're going to be a Christmas present for my daughter. Next up is a pair of slip zag socks that I have knit in a self-striping yarn. Here we have this bright beauty, which is the Yorkshire blanket by Mima Makes. I am making 8 of each square so that the finished blanket is going to be massive, which makes me super happy. When I originally started this pattern, I think I did the math and I'll have enough to make a large king-size blanket and maybe a baby blanket as well. But we'll just have to see. There is a lot of yarn and a lot of squares. If you haven't watched the classic Time Team with Tony, Phil, and Mick, then you are missing out. I need to finish this Mick Aston inspired sweater for my husband because this was supposed to be his Christmas present back in 2023. I found this project bag and it had random yarns in it. I'm going to keep them together in hopes that I can find a page in my notebook about what the yarns are being used for. Terrible idea, really. I will admit I bought this mohair when I was trying to fit in with everyone, and everyone was knitting a popular pattern with mohair for Rhinebeck. This is where things get mighty complicated. I have a lot of randoms and a lot of plans. I also required a lot of skeins of yarn for my daughter's stash that she no longer felt inspired by, which is fine since she snaked them from my stash in the beginning anyways. When I finish a project and I have more than 20 grams left, then I cake it up and put it into a color-coded scrap bin. Seeing all the yarn now in their color groupings, I am thinking that with the purple bucket, I want to make the sea glass cardigan. Wyoming Knits is making a green version and the effect is stunning. My daughter loves my blue bins, so I might decide to make her a sea glass cardigan using all the blue and give it to her as a birthday present. I don't have much in my orange, yellow, red, or green bins because my daughter and I are saving those and plan on crocheting the new Mima Makes blanket that comes out in December of this year. She did this collaboration with a dyer that offered a yarn advent, but I'm not a huge fan of most advents. Thus, when she announced that she was going to be releasing a new pattern in December, I decided to put aside the yarn that I wanted to use for the blanket. All these warm, rich colors are going to be such a delight to crochet in the winter. Now we get into all the caked up yarn that I have set aside and is specifically where I go when I have sock design ideas. I have over 50 designs drawn out in my notebook, and it's like my own personal Ravelry store that I can go to and choose one to work on, and then go to my sock bin and pull out colors to work with. From the looks of things, it looks like I'm really drawn to all colors really, but I have less bright warm colors, which means that I use them most often. I should really start being more intentional about choosing the cool muted colors that I have so that I don't box myself into one specific color palette while I'm designing. Next up is a section of self-striping yarns, and I love self-striping yarns, especially for designing socks, because I love the challenge that they represent to me. I know there is nothing wrong with just knitting the yarn up and having vanilla socks with easy stripes, but I love the challenge of designing a sock with self-striping yarn that isn't vanilla. That just adds a little something to accent the stripes, creating a masterpiece. Oh, the Persephone yarn. The yarn that is so special to me that I just haven't found the perfect pattern for it yet. Get ready for some kinda planned sock projects. I bagged these sock sets up with my daughter at the beginning of the year, and the plan was to knit a pair of matching socks each month of the year while listening to classical literature together. But when we sat down and made a list of what we wanted to accomplish with knitting for the next year, monthly socks didn't make the cut. But they are ready whenever we are. Next in the fingering weight category are the t-shirt or sweaters quantities that once had a solid plan for how they would be used, but either those plans have been changed or completely forgotten. I also have some bare yarn that I will be dyeing for my upcoming year-long cal. One new colorway each month of the cal. It's a bunch of fingering weight that was lurking in the bottom of my knitting basket. This is the yarn weight that was bought with the brightest of ideas and greatest hope, and it is still sitting in my stash. I have plans to make look-alike sweaters from a few music videos, and with the blue tweed colors, I am wanting to make a Norlig cardigan, but as a fade. Here we get into major scrapland. I acquired a lot of these scrap spheres from my daughter's destashing and hope to turn them into a present for her that I can gift to her later on. But she has been reteaching my husband to knit, and I am thinking that these would be perfect for him to use to make an intentional scrappy blanket. I also have plans to frog some DK projects and reuse the yarn to make my first pair of DK weight socks, which will come in handy when my husband and I go on our morning walks in the winter. Here I have the first yarn that I bought after my decade-long hiatus from the knitting world, and I'm using it for my level 1 master hand knitter swatches. Raffia for another crocheted hat someday. Then we have all the yarn that my wonderful husband bought for me when I was convinced that I was going to start crocheting amigurumi stuffies. I bought the yarn and paid my daughter to wind it all into cakes, and it has sat in my stash ever since then. Are you ready for all the gory details of how much yarn is actually in my stash? After everything is all said and done, I have exactly 46,884 grams of yarn in my stash. What this translates to is about 469 100-gram skeins of yarn. I have loose plans, as I mentioned within the video, of what to do, but luckily those plans can change. They have over the past couple of years. I think that the next question that people may have is, are you doing a no-buy year? Are you doing a no? Yeah, I am. I don't need yarn. The only thing that I can think of that I would specifically need yarn for would be for the other levels of the Master Hand Knitter program, because they require a very specific type of yarn, but I'm not too worried about it. Another question that I think people will have is, are you planning on destashing yarn? Honestly, no, I'm not. I really like the yarn that I have. The last question that I think people might have is, are you going to share monthly stash stats? And the answer is yes. I do plan on making once a month videos that showcase where my stash stats were at the beginning of the month, what I made during the month, and where my stash is at that moment. I'm breaking up with my local yarn store because they don't feel a need for me, because I get really overwhelmed with in-person shopping, and honestly, I don't need a local yarn store. I am one. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you are doing a stash down challenge, or if you too are breaking up with your local yarn store for whatever reason, go ahead and leave me a comment down below, and we'll see you real soon. Bye!